This is Garis, Masculist, MGTOW flyers, that is 2 3-page essays on the themes of masculism and MGTOW, written by and read aloud by Prof. Dr. Hugo de Garis. This is flyer number 589, entitled Masculist Rage Sweeps the High Schools and Campuses, Forcing Women to FIP up. Description. This flyer envisages the time when there are enough masculisted and MGTOWed young men in high school classes to confront the monoconscious, hypocritical, manslaving, divorce-raping bigotry of young feminists in their classes and assert their masculist contempt and hatred against this bigotry and start spitting into these women's faces. Things will then escalate so that we will have gender political riots in many high schools and campuses until women are forced into accepting biconsciousness and become FIPs, or to rot on the shelf, spat at by men, by millions of hateful, masculisted and MGTOWed men. Now the flyer itself. Masculist rage sweeps the high schools and campuses, forcing women to FIP up, by Prof. Dr. Hugo de Garis. Email profhugodegaris@yahoo.com. Website profhugodegaris.wordpress.com. Imagine some high school male, smart, who has absorbed masculist and MGTOW ideas. That is, he has had his masculist consciousness raised and is aware of how women oppress men. And he's looking at some young woman in his class and thinking the following thoughts. Quote, X, that's the woman's name, X is pretty and quite sexy, but look at what she's studying. She's a real fluffy. She's studying fluffy crap, which will make her inevitably a fluffy as an adult. So since I've had my masculist consciousness raised, I don't want to be manslaved and divorce-raped by a hated, bloody fluffy who expects to parasite off my money and labour. So I see X as vermin, an immoral parasite who expects some gullible, stupid male will be prepared to work for her for decades of his life just by her wiggling her twat at him. Once she's got the house and the kids, she has a 1 in 4 chance of butchering him in the hated, fluffy feminist-dominated divorce court system, destroying his life. As a masculist, I know that she has a life expectancy of 85 years and a career window of half a century. So she has a powerful moral obligation, a duty, to get off her fat parasitic ass and FIP up, to pull her financial weight, or be severely punished by men by not getting one. That is what masculist ideas have taught me. So in practice, looking at X now, how do I feel about her? Most of my good friends, male, have the same ideas as I have. They too have a contempt for fluffy, manslaving, divorce-raping vermin and spit at such women. So should I spit at X? Question mark. End quote. A few days later, X tries to make social contact with this high school male, who reacts coldly towards her, giving her almost the cold shoulder. She is offended and asked him, quote, "Don't you like me?" End quote. He replies, "Don't you know any masculism? You're what the masculists call a fluffy, a manslaving, divorce-raping, fluffy parasite who expects to live off the money and labour of a man for decades instead of fipping up yourself by getting a career competent education. But I know you have chosen to study fluffy crap majors, English literature, history and a foreign language. These fluffy crap majors will make you a fluffy crapper. That will make you a fluffy as an adult, who will then, with 1 chance in 4, butcher your husband, as you divorce him in the hated, fluffy, feminist-dominated divorce court system. Women like you are hated by the masculists, spat at for being utterly immoral, parasitic vermin, manslavers, divorce rapists, women, to be utterly rejected and forced to die a slow, miserable death by rotting on the shelf, totally rejected and ignored by men, masculisted men, not even pumped and dumped, to be spat at, end quote. The young woman X then says in shock, quote, "You hate me so much you would spit at me?" Question mark. He replies, quote, "You're a fluffy. You expect to manslave and divorce rape a man, so you are hateable. You should be spat at." End quote. Quote, this is the woman. "I dare you," she says. So he spits at her in the face with a big gooby. The young woman then freaks out, screaming, "He spat at me!" attracting the strong attention of the other young women in the class, who turn on the young man. But to these women's utter surprise, something is about to happen that will prove to be a turning point in their lives, and that is that the young men in the class, who also have had their attention attracted, quickly understand what has taken place and see the opportunity to express their newly acquired masculist and MGTOW knowledge and give their ideological support to the young man, saying to the young woman X, quote, "He's right, you are a fluffy. You expect to manslave some man and later probably divorce rape him. To masculists, you are vermin, to be rejected and yes, to be spat at." End quote. The young woman is crushed. What makes her situation worse is that several other young men in the class, all freshly masculisted and MGTOWed, chime in with statements like, quote, "That's right," quote, "Fluffies rot on the shelf," quote, "Man-slaving parasite, go to hell," and the like. At this collective male expression of hatred at fluffy man-slaving parasitism, not only is X mortified and crushed emotionally, but so are the other young women in the class who sense that something historic has just happened in their lives, as they realize that they too do not have the luxury to be fluffy crappers, since the same fate will befall them. The teacher, who is a monoconscious feminist, several decades older than her students, is horrified, then goes to the school principal, reporting the group of young males who verbally attacked the young woman, X. These young men are then called to the principal's office, who is also a monoconscious feminist, who threatens these young men with expulsion from the school, but is then given a diatribe from these young men that crushes her as well. The young man who spat, who is the smartest of the male group, tells the principal that masculine and MGTOW feelings are so strong in the senior year that if this group is expelled, then there will be an open rebellion by the male seniors, forcing the principal to back down. She can't expel half of the senior year. The principal calls what she thinks is the male group's bluff and tells the group that she intends to expel them. The male group then tell their male classmates that they are to be expelled for their masculist outbursts, resulting in a large group of about 20 young males going to the principal's office and telling her in no uncertain terms that she is totally out of touch with masculist and MGTOW consciousness, and that if she tries to expel them, then she will have her life made a misery by having a masculist flash mob be formed that will call her at 3 a.m. in the morning. She will have her car tyres slashed. She will be catcalled at school assemblies. She will have shit dumped on her office chair. She will have angry letters written to her school board. Male seniors in groups will spit in her face and call her a monoconscious, male-dumping, feminazi cunt, a gender criminal, an apologist for fluffy, manslaving, divorce-raping, gender criminality. The gender political temperature in the school rises to the point that the local media is called in to cover the bitter dispute. Now imagine something similar happening on the campuses, as these masculisted, MGTOWed young men, in their hundreds per campus, no longer tolerate monoconscious feminazi bitchiness and harangue fluffy crapper monoconscious feminists for studying fluffy crap majors at college and university, resulting in a masculist and MGTOW rage sweeping across campus as men rise up and express their hatred and anger at the massive gender criminality of fluffy feminist hypocrites who expect to be able to parasite off the labour and money of a man. What happened in the high schools will also happen in the colleges and campuses, as at first thousands and later millions of young men rise up, expressing their anger and hatred against decades of misandrous hatred coming from the fluffy feminists against men. These monoconscious feminists who study fluffy crap will become the targets of masculist hatred and contempt due to their profound hypocrisy. A sex war will then break out on campuses across the planet as women rapidly learn the basics of masculist and MGTOW ideas by having them rammed down their throats by extremely angry and hateful masculists and MGTOWs who have lost patience with monoconscious feminazi bigots and express their collective male hatred at this hypocrisy when these masculisted and MGTOWed men know that women oppress men far worse with women's decades-lasting gender crimes against men. For example, the big three of women's manslavery, women's divorce rape, women's forced fathering, and many other gender crimes that women commit against men. As campus after campus is confronted with this mass collective rebellion by masculisted and MGTOWed men, the gender political climate on campus will be radically changed, and within a few years most campuses will have been made biconscious, so that most students will know that gender oppression is a two-way street. But until that stage is reached, there will be verbally bloody scenes on campus as young men rise up and assert their gender political existence and convert today's monoconscious campuses into biconscious campuses, so that if a few million female noses need to be bloodied, then that is a small price for women to pay, for millions of men to be liberated from decades of man's slavery and being butchered in the hated, fluffy, feminist-controlled divorce courts. Cheers. Prof. Dr. Hugo de Garis. Email profhugodegaris@yahoo.com. Website profhugodegaris.wordpress.com. Author of the book Masculism, Men's Rebellion Against Being Man's Slaves to Women, an e-textbook of 580 plus masculist flyers for men's studies courses, freely downloadable in Microsoft Word format from my website. Ciao.